So I left Beijing when I was quite young, but I was born here, which I guess makes me a true Beijinger. But you know how it is when you stay in one place for a long time, it just becomes your home, and then you want to go elsewhere, even another country on your travels. But then if you think about it, Beijing is surrounded on three sides by mountains, which is actually why the emperors chose this location in the past. But that also makes it perhaps one of the best places for weekend getaways. And that's why in this episode of Travelogue, I'm going to be exploring the outskirts of Beijing, my very own back garden. I've come to Longqing Gorge, a 2-hour drive from downtown Beijing. It was formed back in 1973, when a reservoir was created here to provide irrigation water. Over the years, Longqing Gorge has become one of the most popular destinations for day trippers from the capital. Its dramatic scenery has been favourably compared to some of China's most famous sites. This place has been called a mini Three Gorges, mini Li River. I've been to neither, but these landforms, these karst landforms I've seen a lot, mostly in southern China, not so much here in the north. And I think most impressive for me is to find these incredible valleys, these almost vertical cliffs just outside of Beijing. It blows my mind. Absolutely gorgeous here, and the water is so clear. Can't believe I've been here so many years and never been to Longqing Gorge. These dramatic limestone hills form what's known as karst topography, which usually results from mountains being eroded by underground water. Here, though, a similar effect was achieved when the valley was flooded to create the reservoir. Just listen to that sound. Just so quiet here, very still. The sound of water being pushed by these creaky wooden oars, us gliding not so smoothly on the water. Very serene here. And you can hear your voice sort of just echoing, bouncing off the walls of the cliffs surrounding us. It's such a lovely place to be. And it's so accessible. That's the most important thing. It's really accessible from Beijing. Love it. In fact, this gorge is located in one of Beijing's furthest districts, a place called Yanqing. You see, Beijing proper is huge, more than 13 times the size of New York City. But thanks to an efficient highway network, Yanqing has become a firm favourite for weekend warriors, and every manner of guest house has sprung up to serve them. Some of them are as Instagrammable as it gets. Ooh, like the look of this. Almost feels like we're, I don't know, in the Mediterranean, like on some kind of Greek island or something. Wow, very cool modern architecture. I think I'm going to enjoy staying here. Nice. Looks like something out of Kinfolk. Got a living room here, kitchen here, very swish. Looks a bit better than my flat. One house, 3 bedrooms. Obviously, I'm staying on the top floor. Got a nice terrace here, but let me show you my room here on the left. I like how sleek it is. Also, really like this ceiling. Lovely wooden beams and this sort of bamboo pattern. But obviously the centerpiece is this tub with this view of the village and the really beautiful mountains in the distance, really. I can just chill here, soak in my tub and enjoy this view, and the hotel's other guests can enjoy the view of me enjoying the view. It's a win-win situation. most people in Beijing live in apartments. So while this hotel isn't cheap, for me, part of the allure is in coming here with a group of friends and having an entire house to ourselves. Oh, that's good. That is the stuff. Oh, now this is what you call a good time. And a little bit of wine. Cheers. Might even see some stars tonight. There we go. Coming up next, I'll head to the Great Wall in style, before checking out a different kind of fortification. Here we go. Another day, another stretch of the Great Wall. This one actually has many different names, but it's probably easiest to remember it as the Lakeside Great Wall because it's actually one of the few stretches of the wall that actually go underwater. This part of the wall is located in Huairou, Beijing's northernmost district. It's about 100 kilometers from the city centre, but the roads up here are very good and popular with cyclists. Just like Longqing Gorge, this scenic spot was also created when it was flooded to create a reservoir. Okay. Just wanted to tell you guys something really interesting. So I thought this was basically just to stop us from going over there, but this pile of rocks in front of us is in fact the Great Wall. Because before this was a reservoir, this area was a valley, and this stretch of wall actually dates back to the Ming Dynasty, to the early 15th century. So all of these rocks are actually over 600 years old. And it's just really pretty incredible, really, that we can come this close to it on a boat. It really is quite a unique experience. After all, how often do you get to cruise right up to a wonder of the world? Although the Great Wall was originally built to keep out invaders from the north, these days its endless flight of steps and steep inclines serve as a constant reminder to tourists that they might be a little out of shape. So I'll let you guys in on a bit of a secret. When tourists visit Beijing for the first time, often they'll go to the Badaling or Mutianyu sections of the Great Wall, but locals will come here to the Lakeside Great Wall. And now that I'm older and not as fit as I used to be, I do really quite appreciate the ease of access of the wall here. Like, we didn't have to do any hiking whatsoever. And also everything is kind of just congregated in one area, so you can do all of the, touristy sort of stuff and then go up to the Great Wall all within a very short space of time. Okay, let's rewind. There's a faster way to get to the top. Would you look at that view? Can't beat it, can you? It feels a little bit like I'm riding a roller coaster, except, instead of plummeting to our doom, we get pulled up nice and slowly, and hopefully we'll be descending nice and slowly too. Wow, what a great view. Oh, is that it? Wow, man, it doesn't even feel like I'm in Beijing anymore. So if you follow the Great Wall that way, you'll end up at the Badaling section, perhaps the most popular, the most best known section of the wall here in Beijing, over in Yanqing district. If you go that away, you'll end up at Mutianyu, which is in Huairou district. But you know, this place, it's not just beautiful with its 270-degree panorama view, but in the past it was also very strategically important because not only did it guard the imperial capital of Beijing, but it also guarded the imperial tombs, the Ming Dynasty tombs that are nearby. So very beautiful, but also very, very functional. If all its sections were put together, the Great Wall of China would stretch halfway around the world. Impressive, isn't it? Hang on, what's this European town doing on the outskirts of Beijing? So Beijing's known for a lot of things, but did you know it also has a vineyard? I'm currently on the estates of Chateau Changyu AFIP, which is about an hour's drive north of Beijing, and they've built this entire European-style town. There's actually a vineyard behind us over there, and it's owned by China's very first wine producer. They've definitely gone for the European aristocracy vibe here, which has proved highly popular with wedding photographers. Though this is an actual working vineyard, the estate is more of a themed resort, where just about everything has to do with the culture of wine. Coming up next, I'll discover a water town to the north of Beijing, which really shouldn't exist, before climbing a raw section of the Great Wall.
Images may appear to be identical, but looks can be deceiving. The difference is not always obvious. It has to be discovered. There are always different sides to a story. We put the focus on the details. To see more, to understand better. CGTN. See the difference.
I see a country on the move.
There's my opportunity.
Is it good to change so fast?
Yes, but it's a challenge.
We have one foot in the future.
But we never forget our past.
We need to talk to one another.
And listen.
More than 1 billion voices telling their stories. Rediscovering China, only on CGTN.
Oh, nice and early in the morning. I've come to a place that I've heard a lot about but have never been to. So this place is called Gubei Water Town. It's about 2 hours drive north of Beijing, and it's built in the style of a water town, which is quite rare to find here north of China, but much more common in the south and on the east coast. So this is going to be really interesting for me. Not been to a water town in the north. I say that because Beijing gets very cold in winter, especially up here in Miyun district, where this water town's located. You see, I can't help wondering what this sort of scenery would look like, with everything frozen over. But then all this is make-believe anyway. Because Gubei Water Town is not a real water town. It's an incredibly realistic rendition of one, combining the canals of the south with the architectural styles and traditions of the north. All of the handicrafts on display here are typical of northern China. Centuries ago, this was the site of an important military camp which guarded the nearby Great Wall. Today though, Gubei's transformation into a water town is so complete that it feels like it's always been like this. For those of you who recognize Chinese, those are the characters for my name. So let's see what this is about. Oh wow. Cool. This is pretty awesome. This is actually not what I was expecting at all. I thought it was a tie-dye shop. But this is actually kind of like a movie set. Whoa. Actually, these fabrics have all been dyed in different ways. Obviously, they have different patterns, but the method is different too. And that's actually because this area used to be a sort of a cultural crossroads. Military officers would be sent here on duty to, tour for like a couple years to govern the place. And obviously, they would bring with them the culture of their hometown. So that's why you have so many different dyeing methods in this one place. For example, this is a northern way to dye fabric where they actually squish the fabric between a mold. And over here, this is pretty cool actually. This is dyed using a method called wax dyeing, and these were used for wall banners. So obviously very strong, very impressive. And this is slightly more of a labor-intensive way of dyeing fabric, which originated in Wuzhen in southern China, where they actually put a stencil over the fabric, and then on top of that they basically smear wet ash, and once it's dried they scrape it off, dip the whole thing into a vat of dye, and out comes this really beautiful pattern. But these are very emblematic of northern style dyeing, and if you're Chinese, you might even have one of these at home, because often in the northern parts of China, people are gifted this sort of very vibrant fabric. If you're a newlywed couple, this is your wedding gift, and a lot of people would actually have this as a quilt cover hidden away somewhere in their wardrobe. So this is something that people still use to this day. I actually thought those were really big lanterns earlier, but it turns out that they're giant reels of fabric which are hung on this pulley system and then lowered into those really big vats of dyes at the bottom over there, and then they're pulled up and left to dry. So they actually serve both a beautiful yet functional installation. Winters in northern China are bitterly cold, so it's no surprise there's also a distillery here. It specializes in making China's fieriest liquor. Okay, so this is where they showcase the grains that go into making the shaojiu. This is sorghum, which from my limited understanding is usually the main grain in shaojiu or baijiu. This is sweet corn, and then we've got some rice as well. And usually what they would do afterwards is break them down, grind them, and then throw them into these bamboo vats for steaming. And then from what I understand, they'll then take out the grains and then spread them out on the floor for them to dry. But then there's obviously more processes, that's why we've got these huge vats. But as to exactly how they do it, I have no idea.
你好，先生。
您这是在干什么呀？
哦，咱们这个发酵的粮食在缸里发酵，咱们给它 搅搅缸，让它发酵均匀。
对对，这香味儿真的很浓哈。
非常浓烈。
感觉这在熬粥似的。
沉淀好了之后，它慢慢就往下沉淀下来，酒就飘起来了。
那飘起来一层酒是吗？那个就直接可以喝了吗？还是还有别的？
要搁过去拿过来也能喝，但是咱们一般的都是经过压榨还有蒸馏之后，再窖藏一段时间再喝。
哦，还需要再加工是吧？
This stuff is stronger than vodka and must have been much appreciated by the soldiers stationed here centuries ago. After all, there's nothing quite like liquid fire coursing through your system to get the blood flowing again to your frozen extremities.
店长帮您打一点。
好啊，好啊，谢谢。我太期待，因为刚才扶着那个缸的时候，
您亲自品尝。
对，然后闻了一下那个手指头，就特别香的这个味儿。哎，好，谢谢。Oh, look at that! I'm really super looking forward to this. Oh, that's incredibly fragrant. Oh yes. Oh, that's like a multi-stage sort of thing. Wow. This is super strong. This is 55%. And you think it would be like a punch to the face, but actually, it's very strong, but it's incredibly sweet. It's really floral. Like right now I can feel like all of the fragrance in my mouth. I'm kind of salivating still. But it's incredible. And I would love to have more of this. 我觉得这个真的是可以一直继续喝，尤其刚才不小心洒到手指头上一下，还是一丁点都不能。
But maybe it's not such a good idea to drink 110 proof hard liquor on an empty stomach. Lucky for me, there are plenty of snack stalls around.
Oh, cool. 太棒了，多谢。好嘞。哎，谢谢。Wow, that's a lot of stuff in there. So this is tofu that has a pork filling in it, in some kind of secret sauce with coriander, shallots, pepper. Oh, crispy, very crispy on the outside, very hot, also tender on the inside. Oh, that's good.
But do save some space for the main course. And since we're in northern China, expect lots of meat, plenty of carbs, and honest, generous portions.
Love it. Look at this. We've got an amazing feast in front of us with two very awesome specialty dishes. 您可以给我大概介绍一下吗？这个是咱们的烧肉，咱们招牌烧肉是吧？
对，特色密云香烧肉。
特色是在哪里？
特色就在于这块肉。
哈。
因为我们这个肉啊，选的是，这个猪身上的五花肉，一头猪上点儿，也精选出来的五花肉也就在15到20斤左右。然后还有在一个我们这个，卤制的汤汁上。这是两个比较，保密的一个。
当时我在后边确实拍了很多照片，但是你们放进的东西确实挺多的。然后这道菜是鱼头哈，
对，这是鱼头，用的咱们密云水库的这种花鲢鱼。哦，来看一下啊，
哇，
鱼头，
这得有4、5斤了吧？
这个4斤
，4斤哈。
对，
那要是咱们开吃，就是还是得
咱们
从这个烧肉开始吧。我看来好像咱们这得加这里是吧？
对。
哦，这种吃法 ，That's interesting. I mean, I do some cooking at home, and when I was watching how they make this dish, it looked kind of similar to red braised pork, but then it had so many more ingredients when it came to the braising phase, and then afterwards they would steam it too, which is I didn't understand why they were doing that, but it's to make the I'm kind of salivating, make the meat actually melt even more in your mouth. And then to kind of make a mini hamburger. It's basically a Chinese slider, isn't it? 哇塞，太棒了 Down we go. Oh yes. Oh man, that literally That literally melts in your mouth. That fat is one of the most beautiful parts of meat, honestly. It's just so rich, incredibly fragrant. You can tell like a lot of time has really gone into making this dish because it's full of flavor. 我这还没吃完呢，我就想尝一下咱们这个鱼头。小时候觉得刺儿特别费劲。
I feel like I'm in some sort of lucid dream, cruising through the canals of a new town that's built to look old, but also has real history. It's an immersive multi-level experience, like something out of Inception.
This is, I mean, I've been to quite a few water towns by now, but all of them were in southern China or on the east coast. And to cruise around in the narrow canals of a water town here in the north, like pretty much, you know, just outside of Beijing, is kind of bizarre in a way. And it's also a really interesting way to see this town because it's huge. And going through these canals, you also see the, you know, backs of all of these buildings, and it's really quite interesting. It gives you a different perspective on the whole Gubei water town.
This place looks, sounds, and feels just like the real thing. All that's lacking are local people, maybe fishing by the canal or taking their kids to school. The entrance ticket for Gubei Watertown also gives you access to Simatai, a relatively unrestored section of the Great Wall.
Whew. Well, view is definitely very good. You know, obviously I'm afraid of heights, so don't look down, but the view is totally worth it. I've climbed the wall maybe 10 times already, and every single time, absolutely spectacular when you get to the top.
Here on the northern outskirts of Beijing, you'll often see the Great Wall snaking across hilltops. In fact, you see it so often that you stop noticing it after a while. For 10 years I've lived here in Beijing, but this trip has once again opened my eyes to the beauty of this city I call home. After all, where else can you find the wonder of the world in your very own backyard?